Good morning, friends, and welcome to this special webinar on challenges of plastic waste management. The plastic industry, owing to its use in a wide variety of sectors, such as the automotive, construction, electronics, healthcare, and textiles, it is among the fastest growing markets. There is, however, a burgeoning rates of plastic production. Positively for Indian businesses, it's a great thing, but at the same time, it's a great cause of concern also because of the lack of an organized mechanism to deal with. Uh, I would say that more than 20,000 tons of plastic waste generated per day in the country in India. This webinar today will be discussing and assessing all aspects relating to plastic waste management and the development of a sustainable alternative to plastics. We'll also be touching upon various laws and policy implementations. In India, very particularly, we had plastic waste management rules which were actually had first in 2011. These were revised in 2016 and they have been further amended in 2018. The idea mainly is that plastic, the negative aspects of the plastics which are really causing major problems, we try to address those challenges so that, the cities, as a matter of fact, our rivers and our seas do not get adversely affected because of this plastic waste per se. And we do have four very distinguished speakers. Uh, I'll be starting with Mr. Amit Jain. He is a currently managing director of a private sector organization called IRG Systems South Asia Private Limited. Mr. Jain has more than 25 years of professional experience in the area of energy, environment, and natural resources and disaster management. He has worked as consultant to bilateral and multilateral agencies like USAID, GIZ, ADB, Bank, and UN agencies, UNEP, UNDP, UNCRD, etc. He has completed a number of projects of waste management, including municipal solid waste, plastic waste, mercury waste, electronic waste, in India and also abroad. Well, Mr. Jain, as a matter of fact, is a very big professional. He did his MTech in biotechnology and biochemical engineering, and he is also a BTech in chemical technology. With his long experience of working in the sector, I am very hopeful that he is going to share his thoughts mainly on how to really address the whole issue of plastic waste management, not only in the country but also in the Asia and Pacific region. I'd like to invite Mr. Amit Jain for his presentation. Can you unmute yourself? Amit ji,
Yeah.
can you unmute?
Yes. Good. Can you hear me?
Amit ji, can you unmute?
Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Good morning,
Yes,
everyone.
sir, we can hear you.
As sir has given a brief introduction, and thank you for nice introduction. Now, today, the topic of my presentation is challenges of plastic waste management, Indian context. I will try to give you a brief background, what's happening in the country and how we are going to take it forward, what are the precise recommendations. Uh, in fact, I had the opportunity to work in Asia Pacific on plastic waste, also in South Asia as well as in India. So can you see my presentation? Is it?
Yes, it's visible.
It's visible. How
Yes.
I'm not able to. I'm not able to. It's. Hello. Can you give me that sharing rights? It's saying you cannot start screen
My
share while the.
Ashley will be helping you out, actually.
Just 1 second. I'll just stop sharing and you can share your presentation from there if you want to.
Okay. Can I share now?
Yes, sir, you can.
Is it visible? Is it visible?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So the topic is challenges of plastic waste management and its Indian context. The contents are, I'll briefly describe about us, what do we do, and about plastic waste, what are the impacts, what are the trends in South Asia, and then I'll come over to Indian context where I'll try to describe the gaps, what are the challenges that we are facing once we are implementing EPR-based regulations, what could be the countermeasures and recommendations. In fact, I had the opportunity to work on UNEP-based project in India, wherein we tried to develop the methodology for hotspotting, and based on hotspotting, what could be the countermeasures. And this we did it in Ganga Basin. We are consultants. We started working in India in 2001. We have worked in 12 countries. Some of the benchmark projects we have implemented in waste management streams, not only in India, but abroad also. We are extensively working with different donor agencies like World Bank, ADB, bilateral, multilateral, Government of India, private sector, and we are also working with NGOs and industry association. As we all know that
not visible on the screen.
Hello, am I audible and presentation is visible?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so as you all see, the visual
presentation is not visible.
Presentation is not visible. I hear that presentation is not visible.
Not visible to me.
Oh.
It is visible. It is visible.
It is visible.
I think it might be a network problem which Mr. Ratra is facing. I'll just contact him and clear that out. The presentation is visible and you are audible.
Okay, thank you. So as you see the visualization, I have tried to compile how the plastic gets carried through different carriers using the riverine system, using the other ecosystem, like how it gets transported into soil and finally it reaches into the sea and then into the ocean. You can see the journey of the plastic and you can see the different sources and the hotspots. You see urban development as well as, basically related to on-land pollution. When we start talking about what are the trends in consumption and waste generation in South Asia, you see that there is a huge population which exists in South Asia, and urbanization is the major trend which is going on in South Asia. If we look at the economic indicators, no doubt this year has been bad, but overall, if we look at the economic indicators for the last 10 years, GDP is growing. And you can see that GDP is growing from nearly 4.9% to 7.9%. It means that and greater consumption. So we can say that demography, economic growth, and growing purchasing power and the domestic and private consumption are the major drivers of plastic consumption. And accordingly, plastic waste generation is the major issue. We also see that on-land plastic pollution is the major cause for marine litter and plastic pollution in oceans. And you see the coastlines, different countries in the region, such a big coastline, and it serves as it drains different rivers, and based on that, rivers become major carriers of plastic waste into the rivers as well as into the sea and into the ocean. You can see that around 11,000 kilometers of coastline in the region. Now, about 3 years back, there was major concern. A paper came in Nature, and then you see different rivers which were identified to carry maximum plastic waste into the ocean. They fall in Asia. Ganga is also one of those major rivers. When we started working on UNEP projects in 4 different cities, and 3 were in the Ganga basin, 3 were Haridwar, Agra, and Prayagraj, which means Allahabad. And we also took a sample of Mumbai. And you see what we see on the banks of the river. It's in Agra. You see how plastic gets transported to the river banks and it gets mixed with the it then falls into the main stem of the river. Similarly, you see different drains which are draining into the river, and you see how plastic gets trapped at the barriers, and finally when the volume becomes so high, it gets transported into the other channels and finally into the river. What is the basic impact? Why this phenomena is occurring? If we try to map the plastic value chain within a geography, we see that inefficiency or inadequate waste management leads to leakage of the plastic value chain, especially in India and South Asia as well, which means that collection, transportation, and finally waste treatment and disposal, there is a problem out there. And as such, that needs to be ramped up. If we look at the trends in South Asia as well as in Asia Pacific, the region is a net importer of fossil fuel as the feedstock for manufacturing plastic. And positive correlation coexists between GDP growth rate and the plastic consumption rate in the region. And we also see that increasing rate of plastic consumption. More so during this year, we have seen that some of the PPEs which are getting which are you can say joining the waste stream have gone up, as a result of which plastic waste has gone up by more than 10% into the waste management chain. Now, we also see that there is an increasing trend of municipal solid waste generation in the region. And when we see the Indian context, we see that about 3.6 million metric ton per annum is the total plastic waste generation. These figures have come from Central Pollution Control Board. And you see some of the states, they contribute very high, like Gujarat, Tamil Nadu, and Maharashtra. And you see the majority of the plastic units, though it says 1084, but industry estimates are something around 5,000. However, what we see nowadays that all these units are covered under the EPR regulations. Now, when we look at the key gaps, implementation of extended producer responsibility based regulation is a major issue in India at the moment. And also when we look at the baseline with respect to our urban centers, we don't have the proper baselines. That means the type of plastic waste, total quantity of plastic waste, how much, what needs to be done out there. Should it go to the landfill, and landfill again becomes the hot spot? That's again a big question mark, because treatment, if at all, exists in the urban center, it's just related to the size reduction. Otherwise, the majority of the waste goes to the landfill site. When we look at the EPR, what are the major challenges? We don't have the single registry. What are the targets, either full or part? Whether we should attack it based on individual collective system or a combination of different producers. Then choice of the financial instrument is again a major issue. Then strengthening of the infrastructure. We have about 8,000 towns, and collection, transportation, recycling, and disposal, and integration of the informal sector. These are the major challenges. How to streamline that? Then monitoring and auditing of the system. It has to be transparent and smooth functioning system. What can be learned from those countries where it has been implemented? And how we should make the public aware related to the disposal or the waste segregation. Waste segregation is again a major issue. In order to simplify regulation based on extended producer responsibility, the response has been quite progressive, and they have come out with, the government has come out with the uniform framework of implementation of extended producer responsibility. And the second response is the city and the state level plastic project conceptualization and identification of the countermeasure is an ongoing activity. A number of institutions, international institutions have come forward to set up the model case in terms of developing the citywide baselines. As you see the broad plastic value chain, you see where is the problem. And the gray area which you see out there indicates the major problem or the leakage, from where the leakage occurs. Now, complexity of the integration is, you can very well imagine how many stakeholders are there in this chain. You can see in this diagram. And not only this, we have kabadiwalas, informal sector waste pickers, rack pickers, road sweepers, dhalaos or the collection bins, then house to house collection. It all has to be integrated to have waste collection system or the waste assembler or at a place where it can be integrated. Then how to channelize from here into the recycling or the recycler or waste to energy, that's a major issue. Now, for having an enabling system, some of the factors which we have tried to look into are, how do we define targets for particular waste stream? In terms of plastic, should we focus on single-use plastic or other types of plastic? And how the responsibility can be divided into different stakeholders. When you see the multiplicity of the stakeholders, defining responsibility is a major issue. And what kind of infrastructure do we need for implementation of this responsibility? Do we have the waste treatment and disposal system to take care of all this? Can it become a viable business case? And what should be the financial management or the choice of financial instrument to make it viable? Then after that, monitoring and auditing system, again, transparency is very important. Do we have a centralized or decentralized or the mix of two? So these are some of the requirements to develop an adequate ecosystem. So what we did was we tried to look at all these factors and try to develop for these cities under UNEP project with the National Productivity Council. And we tried to first develop the hotspotting methodology, which is in line with IUCN UNEP methodology. And we tried to use different instruments in Agra, in Haridwar, in also Prayagraj. And the basis of this was usage of secondary data, whatever data we can have, to identify the major leakages points. And also we tried to do some modeling using fuzzy logic. And we extensively used geographical mapping as well as using fuzzy logic technique to identify hotspots. And then we verified it through ground truthing, as well as tried to look using temporally also whether the same hotspot again becomes a hotspot after cleanup or not. So that becomes the point of intervention, from where we can prioritize different areas geographically within a city boundary and take into consideration that different type of countermeasures. As you will see, this methodology again involved within a geographical boundary mapping of the value chain and what could be the points of data collection. You can see the moment the item gets discarded and then it becomes a waste and it comes into the waste chain. We try to collect data at every unit, which is shown in red arrows. And then this is the output of the fuzzy logic, in which we use different layers and we, in terms of then mapping it one on top of other in a stack, and then using the fuzzy logic approach, we try to develop the, try to look into the hotspots. As you will see in this hotspot mapping, you see the pink area And you see in the middle, it's a high density area where major slums are located. So when we went for ground truthing, whatever we did through modeling, it came out to be true. And based on that, we carried out cleanup exercise, and then again, cleanup exercise in terms of the time scale, as well as tried to verify whether it really is. So using seasonal variation also, seasonality also. So based on this, we tried to classify what type of hotspots, whether it's an accumulation hotspot, it's a source hotspot, application hotspot, or it's a combination of all in terms of value chain hotspots. And we also tried to look into, if you look at it, what could be the leakage pathway from this hotspot, and what could be the carrier, which means that any drain or any channel or through the air. And when we tried to find out what could be the major reasons, we found that inefficiency in waste management, 10% to 25% littering. We found that if we look at the global studies based on the marine litter and plastic, it says 2%. However, our rate was pretty high. So this was one of the major finding, and we thought that we should benchmark it against the international benchmarks and try to reduce it and develop the countermeasure to reduce it. Then what we also saw, that not everything gets recycled. If at all there is recycling, it's always a positive value. Like bottles are hotcakes. Everybody, every rag picker wants to collect the bottles, plastic bottles, because it has got plastic value, and which means that certain value chain exists in terms of recycling of the bottles. And we also saw that, we also carried out microplastic analysis on the upstream side of the river with city as the catchment, and also on the downstream side of the river. And we found a correlation which got correlated to the pathways in terms of microplastics and the macroplastics. And we found that multi-layer plastics, then cutlery, all these items are there. If you are interested, you can find the results on this website under UNEP project. So once we have done that, what could be done? Then we tried to develop the countermeasures. And if we try to map the value chain, we try to look into where, what type of countermeasures and what is the mechanism. We try to look into that. Based on that, we saw that policy and regulatory interventions are very important, because implementation of the regulation is extremely important. Then based on what, should we look into linearity versus circularity? India already has got a draft resource efficiency policy, and we are trying to move towards circularity. So any intervention or policy intervention, next stage, we should not only strengthen our implementation framework of the regulation, but also look at the circularity aspect, which means down the plastic value chain, we should look into the recycling aspect. We should also look into the other aspects of usage based on the concept of 3 Rs, and then what type of instrument in terms of ban on single-use plastic. Can we achieve this within a given time frame? And what type of single-use plastic? We need to look into that. We feel that stage and time-wise plastic phase out should be strengthened, because overnight or within a period of 2-3 years, no doubt you can say anything, but it's just not possible. We need to stage it out, and we need to develop a practical application. Further, there is a need for creation of drivers of recycled plastic sector. When I look at the fuel prices, and when we try to look at the cost of recycled plastic versus virgin plastic, there is a major difference nowadays. For the last 3 years, we are seeing that, and because of which the recycled plastic sometimes finds it very difficult to compete with the virgin plastic. So there has to be driver for usage of the recycled plastic, as well as there has to be some incentive for recycling plastic sector. It could be anything. It could be any instrument. Then we need to strengthen our segregation, because littering has to stop. Somehow it has to stop, which means that we have to involve private sector And also we need to strengthen our system in terms of municipal waste management system. Further, we also need to have uniform reporting, monitoring, and evaluation and regulatory capacity. I feel that IT has a major role to play in this. And if we try to develop a backbone of all to map the entire value chain and all the regulatory requirement, it can work. Further, when we try to look at what are the items which should be prioritized, we need to look at the life cycle assessment for the environmental impact assessment of different types of waste plastic. Then last but not the least, we should strongly work on the awareness raising and behavior change. We have Swachh Bharat Abhiyan. It's a very good uh, uh, initiative, Clean India Mission. And I think this needs to be further strengthened to develop this awareness raising and behavior change for the consumers, so that we also need to develop the alternatives for plastic and we need to use it. Different state governments in India have already banned polythene bags and other plastics, wrapping paper. Maharashtra was one of the first states to do that. However, more needs to be done in terms of developing the viable alternatives. When we look at the perception survey, which was conducted by us during implementation of the UNEP project, we found that all the consumers say that we don't have a viable or affordable kind of a plastic. However, when we look at alternatives available, we also see that there is some change wherein cloth bags, which we used to use about 30 years back, have started come into usage again. So we can't say that it's a mix of results, and a lot of effort needs to be given to the awareness raising and behavior change. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Amit ji. Basically, but I have a kind of, I think it was an excellent presentation that you have made explaining the chain and how do we really move forward. But do you see any role also of the urban local bodies or local governments on the one side, and any role that you see also for some of the financial institutions like banks for any rendering any assistance for the recyclers or others for that matter?
Yes, in fact, I would say that we had the experience of financially closing some waste to energy plants, and as well as working as a transaction advisors. In fact, the banks need to recognize this industry and needs to support this industry in terms of whatever is line of credit is available with them in a way that it leads to the development of infrastructure. It is very important. Say, for example, if any private operator comes under PPP project with the help of the municipality, I find they take a lot of time for financially closing these projects. Wherever these projects, even when they are backward integrated and they have the license for collection and transportation of this kind of waste. So I found that it takes more than a year for these projects to line up finance. And the major issue is with the bank, because first of all, recognition of the recycling industry. Second is the understanding of the subject is a very important for the bankers. And no doubt, I feel that some effort has been done when we look at the hazardous waste management facilities which have come up in India. However, in pure waste sector, municipal solid waste, a lot of effort still is required from the bankers to understand the subject as well as to streamline the financial closure of such projects. And so they have to work with the municipalities in line.
Thank you so much. I think let's move on. Basically, we have another distinguished speaker coming all the way from Australia, Trish Hyde. Trish Hyde is a very accomplished leader across diverse areas: regulatory, services, manufacturing, distribution, packaging, and a business builder. She has significant experience and strengths in strategy, marketing, and sustainability, along with a dash of determination. She became the CEO in 2006 of the Australian Packaging Covenant. Then she led the Covenant co-regulatory framework and co-organization back from the brink of oblivion, successfully negotiating the enhanced Covenant and setting the multi-ministerial and broad membership endorsed 2022 APC Vision and Strategic Plan. Well, she was inspired by the power of the circular economy, and she has created lasting economic, social, and environmental sustainability. She has established the Plastics Circle, a business driving innovation and commercial opportunities that put the circle into circular economies in Asia Pacific. She is presently the director of plasticity in Australia, and we are looking forward to her very innovative and out of box ideas for managing this whole issue of plastic waste management. I normally feel that plastic waste is actually not a waste, it is a wealth if it is properly managed and, as a matter of fact, recycled appropriately. Then in that case, I'm sure that this wonderful material which we have been using last 40 years now, as in several things, can be put to a greater use. Trish, welcome. Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes?
Yes,
Thank
ma'am.
you very much. Lovely. Thank you very much for the lovely introduction. I'll just be sharing my screen so you can see my slides. And if I can get confirmation that the slides are working, that would be great. Can you see the slides?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Just to start, as mentioned, I am an entrepreneur as well as a business person, and one of the wonderful things that I get to do is work on a forum called Plasticity.global, and that's a solutions-focused business forum that has been run around the globe on circular economy for plastics. So I've gotten to meet some of the most amazing people. We've had 13 of them. COVID has interrupted this year's, but last year we actually were invited by the UN to join them at the Sea of Solutions event that they ran, a 4-day all-encompassing event, and we ran one day which was on business. So what I'd like to share with you today are some of the key findings. They're only a small number, but there were many more, but some of the key findings from that event that I think will be helpful in shaping future thinking. So this is the actual photo of the forum, 450 plus delegates across the region. It was a very regional focus, and it was a wonderful occasion to actually get into business thinking and innovation. Number one takeout is to share is that circular economy doesn't exist yet. It's not circular and it's not economic. What we're currently doing is an improvement from the linear approach, but we're yet to get material flowing in a perfect circle. What we have is some of the circle working, but we're also doing a lot of activity that is not necessarily productive. Effort in collecting and then it gets dumped. If it is recovered, often it's downcycled. And that's actually a major problem in current thinking about circular economy. You know, the mention of PET bottles being desirable and collected. They are, and they are collected en masse. However, they're collected for downcycling or side cycling into yarn at best. The infrastructure, the collection process is not strong enough currently to support bottle to bottle in many locations. Often because the law doesn't allow as well. That's a regional issue that needs to be overcome to really have circularity. So the first takeout is that we don't have it right yet. The second one comes from the very nature of what is the problem that we're trying to solve. Pollution is an environmental problem and catastrophic. There is no doubt that we have to stop marine litter. But that has a different context in the levers that you apply compared to circularity. In between the two, you've got waste management and you've got scrap plastic. And that's where a lot of investment sector wants to focus on, you know, the big machines. That's actually counterproductive as well. When you have an informal worker segment, that would just displace people. So the challenge is identifying how to think circular, knowing that we have to fix pollution. Circularity requires some extra thinking. The third key finding was that we have a lot of miscommunication that's not helpful. Call it greenwash, optimism, whatever it is, there is information that doesn't help the consumer, and it certainly doesn't help for material recovery. Bio-based is one of those. It really depends on what the plastic is made of. If it's bio-based versus biodegradable. If it has petrochemical in at all and it's biodegradable, that is a mess. Compostable seems ideal, but unless you have composting facilities, it just goes to landfill or the environment. So that's one term that needs to be very carefully used. Another is paper. There is a big shift in packaging to paper products, but a lot of them actually are good paperboard, which makes an absolute mess for us because the paper is hard to separate from the plastic. It's hard to identify pure paper from lightweight plastic on paper. And basically you're ruining paper recycling and your plastic recycling. So that's an area of confusion. Probably one of the most contentious is the difference between recyclable and recycled. And technically everything is recyclable. It's just commercially only some materials are actually being recycled. So we need to be very careful when we get to that context of, what is our material and is it actually going to be reused? That comes into an interesting point about single use versus multi-use. PET being the most reusable of the plastics, the most recyclable, is often used for single use. So phasing out single use may actually lead to the perverse outcome of people shifting to virgin PET because they can't get recycled content. The fourth one that I wanted to raise is one that doesn't get talked about much and sounds very counterintuitive. Since we no longer have a lot of trade of plastic waste going between countries, we have stockpiling in some countries, Western countries that have infrastructure to sort, but we also have the situation where in Asia, there is a lack of quality PCR plastic. Sounds ridiculous, doesn't it? With all the plastic that we can see, the problem is quality. you have to have the right standards. If you're doing anything like a tube for hand cream, that has to be food grade plastic. So there is a shortage, and the unmet demand before all the brands started making commitments to use more recycled content, unmet demand was 4.8 billion US in Asia Pac. There is a bigger growing demand for this plastic. I want to just quickly mention one of my products that is excuse me, is a way of addressing that last issue, and it's also about to kick off in Noida in Uttar Pradesh. Essentially, that connecting of the valuable material to the recycled content demand that brands have. We've built a software platform that that connects directly to collectors and shows traceability of the material through hubs to the processing factory. And we're working in country with Solidaridad because there are human rights aspects to the supply chain that need to be managed and improved. And the traceability gives the brands the comfort that they're going to get quality and it's actually certified recycled content. No substitution of virgin material because it's a cheaper price. So that software in itself really is changing the way to view plastic from it being waste, but collecting it before it becomes waste. Source separated means highest quality. The fifth area to mention is policy needs to match the problem. And if you're looking at marine debris, it's very different to the policy levers that can be implemented for circular economy. And I'll just take one here, EPR. EPR at marine debris and waste management can be very much around take back or education and helping drive that behaviour change. But when you start looking at it as we want to get the resources back and we want circular economy, it gets into the recovery of assets, the putting out multi-layer laminates into a market. How do you recover those assets, which is a very hard one to recover. When you're looking at circular economy, that gets you into absolute material reuse, and that is pushing back that recycled content. In the UK, they're in the process of introducing a £200 per tonne tax on packaging that fails to have 30% recycled content in it. That kind of policy mechanism equals out the price problem because recycled content, and there is a price for recycled content. So that's where you can get some really interesting policy dynamics impacting to move it from marine debris to circular economy. So just to conclude on this section of learnings from Plasticity Bangkok, there is a need to focus on the environmental. We cannot forget that pollution is a problem. However, capture of plastic is a way to solve that in some respects. Circularity is actually an economic driver, and we need to get the economists involved in the conversation. We need financiers, we need trade ministers, we need people who care about industry involved in the conversation so that the economic drivers actually are put into place, because there's a competitive advantage for any country that can unlock plastic recovery at scale. I wanted to finish with a little bit of more hope because essentially what I've talked about are barriers to circularity or issues that need to be considered. Where I see that we have a very positive future is that brands are now involved in this. Brands are after two things. They're after their customers and they're after the investment community to keep backing them. So when you're talking about customers, customers buy with brands that they trust. And plastic is an issue of trust. The X factor is really the ESG framework, where you've got environmental impact equals trust. You've got brands who are focused on environment, social and governance actually performing better, and interest amongst the investment community on the rise. So those three together are really making plastic on the top of the agenda. And that for us, I think, is the great opportunity to meet demand with efficient and effective supply. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Trish. I think that's a way forward for having a circular economy, which will give the benefits both to the environment as well as to the economy per se.
Mm-hmm.
The economics of it is, as a matter of fact, very viable, subject to basically the conditions that you have really laid out. And
Yes.
I think it does remain a priority agenda, not only for the UN organizations, but it also remains a priority agenda also for national governments, local governments, and I also feel that, you see, it's quite an agenda also for the business, because business also feels that, you know, they also feel there is a kind of social responsibility. At the same time, you know, if, for example, this is treated more as an industry, recycling as an industry, we can certainly address that challenge. Interestingly, basically, I would say that waste management is quite an issue for most of the corporates also. They have joined hands with the UNDP in India.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's more like a, you know, corporate social responsibility from the corporates and UNDP joining hands and trying to work with the local governments as well as with the informal sector, you know, and they have initiated this whole program of plastic waste management in several cities of India. Our third presenter basically is Mr. Tathagata Ghosh. He is the program officer of UNDP, you know, based in Delhi, but they have a program spread over the country. And I am actually looking forward for his presentation explaining how, for example, corporates, UNDP, as well as, I would say, local governments, working closely with the communities, are trying to implement this very interesting project. So I invite Mr. Ghosh for this presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Singh. Thank you, Trish and Amit. Fantastic presentation. Really opened a lot of ideas for me to take forward in the project that we have. I'm just going to put up this presentation right now. Yeah, I hope this presentation is visible.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So as a part of the partnerships that we have with the corporate sector and the government, various local governments in India, UNDP started the plastic waste management program back in 2018 in partnership with Coca-Cola and Hindustan Unilever. Prior to starting this particular project, UNDP, under the Small Grants program back in 2008, started the entire plastic waste management program way before it was even conceptualized by the government. It was started back in Madhya Pradesh in Bhopal, and currently that you see the city of Bhopal and Indore have taken such strides in ensuring sanitation and cleanliness that they are ranked #1 in the country in terms of cleanliness. So taking learnings from the previous projects that have been implemented and moving into this particular project on plastic waste management, what we are essentially looking at, as in a few points, Amit and Trish, they mentioned that while this entire system is to go along with the business aspect of it, UNDP looks at it particularly from the human rights part of waste management in India. As all of you are aware, waste management in India largely depends on the informal sector. Now, according to some estimates, the total waste, plastic waste that is generated in the country is approximately 10 million tons annually, and that is a staggering amount. Now, through this project, what we are trying to do is bring in at least 90,000 tons. That is the target that we're achieving, that the target that we're aiming for, at approximately 90,000 tons of plastic waste into the recycling network. Because as of now, as Amit in his presentations was explaining, that we need to ensure a traceable system from where the plastic is being collected to where the plastic is ending up at the end of the value chain with the recyclers and other points. So I'll just go through this presentation in brief. So the 4 key components of the project that we are looking at. So when we talk about plastic waste management in the country, there are a lot of large-scale projects that have been tried previously. Some of them have succeeded, some of them have failed due to various reasons. Now, when we tried the plastic waste management program back in 2008 in Bhopal, we started off with a small system, a small grants program, and we realized that waste management in particular works great in communities when it's on a decentralized model. The entire management, the entire value chain responds much better on the decentralized system. So these are the 4 components that the entire project is based on. We're looking at a socio-technical model for plastic waste management, wherein we are not only looking at recycling the plastic, but at the same time, we are looking at empowering the waste pickers that are engaged in the system. The waste pickers, as we call them, Safai Sathis, they are a critical part of the system, and we are looking at how do we economically and socially empower them while taking out a bulk of the plastic waste that is ending up at the landfills. Now, the second component of this project is the material recovery centers, or what we call as Swachhata Kendra. These are small decentralized systems which take up a capacity of 5 to 10 metric tons per day. In smaller cities, in tier 2, tier 3 cities, these approximately account for about 5 to 7% of the total plastic waste that is generated from what we have been calculating for the last 2 years. So even at that rate, when we look into tier 1 cities, we are still looking at expanding the existing systems where we are working. The third component is with institutionalizing the Swachhata Kendra. Now, material recovery centers are essentially looked at as the first point of transferring the entire waste that is collected onwards to the landfill. We are looking at Swachhata Kendras as the primary spot where the entire dry waste that is collected. So with Swachh Bharat mission that was implemented since 2014, the entire concept of segregation in urban India was taken on a war footing. So with every city, segregation of waste was made mandatory. So every household was instructed that with various kinds of activities that were planned and executed, a lot of cities took up segregation of waste. And with that, the dry waste component that started arriving into our Swachhata Kendras. And in our work with the local governments, with the urban local bodies, we have begun institutionalizing the Swachhata Kendras as primary centers for recycling, for the segregation and transferring of recyclable materials to recyclers. Now, as earlier mentioned, knowledge management or plastic waste management, as it has already been stated in the draft framework for extended producer responsibility. the entire traceability of plastic waste in general, from where it has been collected finally to where it is being disposed of or being recycled, that entire system is being taken up within this project. So I will explain this further as we go through the presentation on how exactly are we doing that and the entire traceability mechanism that we are following. So these are the main project impacts that we are looking at. Since we started back in 2018, we are looking at collecting more than 98,000 tons of plastic waste by the time this project comes to an end. We are also looking at empowering more than 38,000 Safai Sathis or waste pickers in the value chain. And when we are looking at talking about empowering waste pickers or Safai Sathis, we are looking at ensuring that they get better wages, they have access to social security systems of the government of India. The Swachhata Kendras, as I said, they are set up to process about 5 to 10 metric tons of plastic waste per day. And the major issue that we see within the value chain is on what do we do with the low value plastics, particularly the multi-layer plastics. In most cases, what we have observed is that multi-layer plastics, they are not recyclable owing to the various layers of plastics that are on that particular brand of packaging. So what we are looking at is connecting, as the government of India states that you can send them out to cement kilns or use them for road making or for making boards. We are tying up with various companies and organizations for road making purposes and for making these condensed boards. So this is one place where UNDP has managed to work with the Municipal Corporation in Ghaziabad next to New Delhi, where we have managed to construct, where we have supplied the plastic for construction of about 10 kilometers of road. And that is still being taken forward. And in most road laying processes, the plastic is being sourced from our Swachhata Kendra in Ghaziabad. So this is a model Swachhata Kendra that we have. So a model Swachhata Kendra, while it takes care of the entire plastic waste management system, it also looks at providing basic necessities to the people that are working there. So with waste pickers and Safai Sathis that are working there, we ensure that there is basic amenities like drinking water facilities, toilets, creches for women who work there, because in most cases, as we have seen in India, women come into work with the children, and children, as a policy of UNDP, we cannot have children roaming around in the plastic waste that is being sorted and segregated in the facilities. So these Swachhata Kendras, they act as a point from where Safai Sathis from across the city, wherever we are working, Safai Sathis, irrespective of whether they are engaged formally with the project or not, they all come to this one-stop shop to sell their plastic waste, because we don't want to take that livelihood away from them. So Safai Sathis, they come into the Swachhata Kendra, they sell their plastic waste, they are given a fair rate, which is in line with the market rates of the plastic waste, and accordingly, there are other people engaged at the Swachhata Kendra who are engaged on sorting through the incoming plastic waste that is collected by the municipal corporation. Now, when we have a look at the plastic waste that is collected, so the entire system of traceability, it is critical to the functioning of this project. So when we take in a certain quantum of plastic waste, we have systems for recording who is supplying us that plastic waste, for what rate it is coming in at, and then when we look at the outflow of the plastic waste after processing at the Swachhata Kendra, we are also recording to who the plastic waste is going out to, and in general, that particular organization, what exactly do they intend to do with that plastic waste? So these are the main waste inflow and outflow of our Swachhata Kendra. So largely from the bulk generators, independent waste pickers, aggregators, or kabadiwalas as they are known. There are existing dry waste collection centers, so they also come into our Swachhata Kendra for disposal of plastic waste. They are also given a fair rate for disposal. We are looking at tapping into religious places because they generate a lot more plastic waste than it was previously conceived. Educational institutes and commercial areas. So these are different types of plastic and what exactly that we are doing with them. So with PET, we are baling the PET and we are sending them off to recyclers for conversion into yarns. With HDPE, we are converting them to granules. So within India, a lot of HDPE and LDPE, these are being shredded and being sent off to recyclers in the form of pellets. With other low value plastic materials, we are also producing something called a gatta that is produced from the extrusion process. So these are molten lumps of plastic which are being used in the pipe making industry for agriculture purposes. And for all other low value material, they are being sent off to cement kiln. So we have had an arrangement in Madhya Pradesh, again, one of our implementation partners. They were receiving payment for disposal of low value plastics at the cement kilns. So all in all, we are looking at zero material that is coming into the Swachhata Kendra from being sent to the landfills. Now, very little, less than 2% of our material goes to the landfill because they are neither recyclable nor can they be sent to cement kilns. So this is our monitoring system. We have, so with every implementation partner that we have their implementation plans on every aspect, on every activity that has to be implemented. That is planned at the beginning of the project. And then we monitor that entire plan throughout the duration of the contracts. With every system that we have in place in UNDP, we have SOPs that were developed, and those SOPs are monitored and followed at every point. Reports on plastic waste collected, on recycled, on upcycled into various products. These are reports that we receive at the end of the month, and these are submitted further to the urban local body. So one important part that we have within our system is accountability of the government when it comes to plastic waste management. So it is not just private sector that is being engaged to work on plastic waste management. We are also looking at getting sign off from the local governments on this amount of plastic waste was collected from your city, you are verifying it. So once that number is verified, we submit that across to the Central Pollution Control Board and the State Pollution Control Board of the respective states that we work in. So the entire chain of traceability that is being maintained, not just at UNDP, it is also being maintained at the government. So this is the entire waste value chain from our Swachhata that we have. Excuse me. So UNDP in its part on the entire value chain. So the value chain in itself is quite established. It would not be right on our part to just barge into the value chain and try and implement something that would completely derail the entire system. So what we are doing essentially is trying to empower the Safai Sathis, because the Safai Sathis are the critical component of the entire system. So we are engaging with non-government organizations in helping them set up these Swachhata Kendras, and they in turn are working back with the Safai Sathis in procuring plastic waste from them and providing them with social security, and further down the line, recycling it through various recyclers that are present in the country. So with waste pickers, there are certain issues that are faced by waste picker community in terms of occupational issues and personal issues. In occupational issues, in most cases, like we have the minimum wages that should be paid to all persons who are engaged in the sector. So what we, with Safai Sathi, some of the main occupational issues that they are facing are A, the wages that they are paid, the age at which they are starting, and the conditions that they are working. So occupational issues largely fall into these three buckets. With personal issues, there is a lot of social negativity that is assigned to waste pickers, or for that matter, waste management. If you go into any of the tier 2, tier 3 cities, if someone tells you that I am engaged in the waste management sector, you're looked down upon. So with people who from the lower sections of society who are engaged in this sector, what we have essentially noted is that they are socially and financially exploited. They are engaged in a debt trap with the existing aggregators present in the city. And there is a lot of that they face health hazards while they're working. As mentioned in the occupational issues, there are health hazards associated with working in the waste management society. Now, through UNDP's intervention, what we have started doing, we have provided ID cards to all the Safai Sathis who are working back with us. Now, these ID cards are not UNDP ID cards. These are ID cards that have been provided by our implementation partner and with the municipal corporation that they work with. So this gives, in a way, a recognition to the Safai Sathis that yes, you are working with the municipal corporation on solid waste management. In addition to this, there are various schemes that were introduced by the government of India, and in addition to the existing schemes that existed for insurance and for health and life insurance for people working in the waste sector. So we are partnering with the government on providing these schemes, access of these schemes to the Safai Sathis, along with conducting financial literacy programs for them. Now, in most cases, the entire value chain works on a cash system. Now, with the entire system, in most cases in India, moving towards a digital system or an online system, we are training our Safai Sathis to operate bank accounts. So whatever payments are made to them, in order to make the entire transaction transparent, we are looking at transferring whatever is due to our Safai Sathis through banking systems only. Now, within India, we have the system of self-help groups where we have a collective of women or of men and women who come together and they set up an enterprise for various activities. So within the waste management sector, we have established a number of SFGs which provide assistance to these waste picker communities for running an enterprise in waste management. In addition to this, finally, as I said earlier, that hello.
Hello, Ashley. This is Ratra back.
Hello.
Hello,
Yes.
Ashley.
Yes, sir, we can hear you. We can hear you.
Ashley, you can meet. Ashley, Ratra is back. Sorry for the inconvenience.
No problem, sir. Mr. Kulwant will ask you to speak next.
Okay, then I'm waiting. Huh?
Sure, sir.
Yeah. And finally, when we have a look at, as I mentioned earlier, that
Hello.
a lot of these women who come work in the waste management sector, they all also have the children coming in at the same time. Now, in UNDP's policy, we don't allow children to be engaged in the waste management sector or have children roaming around the operational areas. So with all our Swachhata Kendras, we have the creche being established wherein children can be taken care of while their mothers are working in the operational sides of it. So this is the entire structure that we have when we are implementing plastic waste management in partnership with the private sector and the government and the local government. So we select a particular city where we engage with the state government first, and we get a list of cities where the intervention is most required. And then we engage an implementation partner who will work on behalf of UNDP for implementing the plastic waste management program. Now, once the implementation partner is onboarded, the entire Swachhata Kendra, along with all the machinery that are used for plastic waste processing initially, because what the project essentially does is process the plastic waste up to a point from wherein the recyclers will come in and they have ready material for recycling. They don't have to put it through their systems for further processing. So all of us Swachhata Kendras, they have a fixed set of machines which are installed. The sources of waste, as I showed earlier, they can come from the municipal corporation or from the partner going out on their own to various points in the city from where they can collect the plastic waste. So this is again at the Swachhata Kendra, it is further sorted and processed. So PET, as I said, PET is baled and recycled. HDP is shredded and converted into pellets. LDP is again sold off into the market. So there are various processes that have been identified, and plastic waste accordingly is processed and recycled. So far, this is the achievement we have had throughout the project. We are currently working with 4 corporates on plastic waste management. We have Coca-Cola, we have Coca-Cola India Foundation, Hindustan Unilever, and HDFC Bank. As a part of this program, we have collected and recycled about 47,000 tons of plastic waste. We have managed to integrate for close to 4,500 Safai Sathis into the system, providing them with insurance and pension schemes and other health benefits. 98 self-help groups have been formed. So these self-help groups, they run their own small enterprises along with the implementation partner for plastic waste management in the cities. Now, with the entire plastic waste management program, with UNDP, we also look at the entire sustainable development goals and how they fit into the entire program. So out of the 17 SDGs that we have currently, so this is one of the few programs that are tackling 14 out of the 17 SDGs. So with no poverty, because we are looking at increased income for the waste pickers, we are empowering the waste picker community through improved livelihoods and inclusion, which is tackling SDG number 5, number 8, and number 10. Circular economy through innovation in technology, energy recovery, and promoting EPR reliability. We are tackling it through SDG 7, 9, 11, and 12. Reducing our landfill, the amount of plastic waste that is going into the landfill, greenhouse gas generation, marine litter, and safe handling of waste. We are tackling SDG number 3, 6, 13, 14, 15. And most important is entering into partnerships, developing partnerships, engaging with local governments, with the corporate sector at every level. We are going into SDG number 17. So IEC activities, so as was mentioned earlier by Christian, that ICE behavior change becomes very important when we look at plastic waste management, and we feel the same as well. So with behavior change programs, we have conducted a number of them, the prime of them being the Plastic Lao Thela Pao campaign that we shot off across India. So in this program, we had people across the community bringing plastics to our kiosks, and they were given a cloth bag in return. Now, these cloth bags, again, were made by the SHGs that we formed as a part of this program. So the dry waste that was collected at the Swachhata Kendra, whatever cloth waste came into the system, the waste cloth, that was converted into bags. And that bag was handed out in exchange for plastic waste during this campaign. Taking this campaign forward, once COVID, the pandemic struck the country, we converted this campaign into Plastic Lao Mask Pump. So again, you bring in plastic, and whoever was bringing in the plastic, we were handing out masks to them. And this saw success when we implemented in Patna. So we are expanding this entire program now across the country as where we are able to do this. In addition to this, while we are engaging with civil society, we are also looking at engaging with the youth of the country. Now, we had a series of talks, which we call the Manthan talks, or the brainstorming session with colleges across the country. We have had 2 sessions so far. We had one with IIT Roorkee back in 2019, and earlier this year we had another session with ISRO on plastic waste management across the country. Now, these sessions, they largely tapped into students sharing their ideas with us and talking to us about how plastic waste could be managed better across the country, and how the youth could be engaged into this entire system. In Bhubaneswar, we had this one successful campaign, which was to try and incentivize collection and responsible disposal of plastic, which was called Meal for Plastic. So we partnered with the Jan Ahar centers of Bhubaneswar, which provide subsidized meal to the community. In exchange for 1 kilo of plastic, we were able to provide meals to the people who are bringing in the plastic to these Jan Ahar centers. So these are some of our pictures that we have from our time during the COVID pandemic. We went around providing relief to our waste picker communities. We were giving ration to them. A very important campaign that we ran this year and last year was the Thank You Safai Sathi campaign. Now, Safai Sathis are the neglected part of the entire waste value chain. So what we tried doing was trying to recognize the Safai Sathis for the work that they're doing and try and make them realize that their contribution to the entire system has been critical for the entire system to continue rolling. And these are some of the materials that our partners have managed to make through the plastic waste that have been collected. So the dustbin that you see on the top left, this is a type of dustbin that is installed at our UNDP offices with every office that we have. These chairs have been installed in Bhopal by the mayor in parks across the city. These plastic chairs have been made out of plastic waste. Then ILCL had partnered with one of our implementation partners to install these dustbins across the city. So in Bhopal, we had these dustbins. Then in Hyderabad, we had these plastic dustbins made out of recycled plastics. Thank you so much. I look forward to any questions that you have. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ghosh, for such a wonderful, very comprehensive presentation. My one question is that, you see, we are a big country with almost like 8,000 towns and cities. You are working in about 5 cities at this moment. Today, you have a support from external support from several of the corporates, and UNDP is leading. Do you think that once this support finishes from the corporates, and as a matter of fact, UNDP is not involved, will the system continue working? Do you feel that, you know, it is getting fully institutionalized, you know, in these 35 cities, that on their own, they will be able to carry it forward? Obviously, there is a permanent setup called urban local body, the municipality that is there. But do we really feel that, you know, it will get fully institutionalized, that the moment you withdraw from these projects, they will continue with their own?
Thank you, Kulwanji. Now, when we came into this project with every city that we are working out of, with every implementation partner, we also work on their financial plans and their business plans when they implement plastic waste management in the city. So we are also looking at the sustainability aspect of the entire system. So once UNDP exits from the project, these organizations are able to carry on the entire system on their own. So this is again a critical component of this project itself, that whatever systems we set up, they are sustainable on their own at the end of 4 years.
My brief question is also about its replicability to other cities. Then how do they really take it forward? When you say that, you know, you are planning a pan-India kind of thing, then how do we really ensure a, you know, quick replicability of this? After all, plastic is a valuable asset. In, you know, once actually, you know, it is in the supply chain, you know, and it goes to the recyclers, they will make a wealth out of it. But the whole point is, how do you really ensure the initial stages that you have really beautifully described?
So essentially, Kulwantji, the model that we have developed here, this entire model is replicable in its own. So when we started back in 2018, we started off with 5 cities from August to December. And then in 2019, that number shot up from 5 cities to 30 cities. So the entire model is replicable, barring a few minor modifications that obviously will be required depending on different cities, as the waste management sector is different within every city. So these Swachhata Kendras, or the entire system that we have, these systems, they primarily function as the one-stop shop for all recyclers to come and procure the plastic waste from, which is how it is happening in Mumbai right now. The implementation partners that we have in Mumbai, there are a number of recyclers present in Maharashtra, and they look towards our Swachhata Kendra for procuring a bulk of the plastic waste that they are collecting.
Thank you so much. I think it was excellent, very outstanding presentation of the work that's being done in these 35 cities under the leadership of UNDP, and with the vital support coming from several of the corporates in that sense. Thank you so much. I think we do have a very nice and last presentation by Mr. O.P. Ratra, who's a plastic waste management expert, a very dear friend of ours. Mr. Ratra has been working in the waste management sector for almost like 50 years. We would like to have some words of wisdom from him, because currently the country does face a very big challenge of managing the waste, not only the single use plastics, but also the other plastics also, because many of them are quite toxic. They can create a lot of problems for soil pollution, etc., etc. So I like to invite Mr. O.P. Ratra. That's his last presentation, but we are looking for his words of wisdom. Mr. Ratra, kindly unmute yourself. अपनी ये ठीक करिए जरा, unmute करिए. Please unmute yourself.
Okay. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you, Dr. Kulwant Singh. I'm sorry that I have some speed breakers and I couldn't continue my thing, but I have partly heard last speaker, Mr. Ghosh, and earlier Mr. Amit Jain. And as the old guard in the industry or in the subject for 50 years, I was feeling very, very happy, very, very happy that people have realized the importance of plastic waste. Now, I have a copy of the report. I'm just showing it to you, if it is visible. This is National Plastic Waste Management Task Force Report 1997. Actually, this was the beginning of the plastic waste management concept in India, in the Ministry of Environment and Forest, where I was the officer concerned who initiated all the documentation, and the committee was set up, report was there, and the future plan of work was initiated. Now, 97 onwards, actually earlier 92 onwards, actually this was the first paper in the National Waste Management Council, which was a background paper which I was asked to present. It was 94. Now, after hearing the two speakers, I felt very happy. And now I call it, there are several other things I have been connected, and at this age of 83, I feel that I'm seeing all my people, but I really compliment the informal sector, those who are the backbone for the plastic waste, that is the waste pickers and the waste collectors. They were there, but I have seen them for the last 40 years. 40 years. In one of the BIS committees, we were discussing about plastic, and I raised an issue, what about the waste plastics? Then my friend sitting, that was 1986, that they said, no, forget about that. virgin plastics there. Anyway, I took up the issue and it continued. Then in 95, committee was set up for preparation of guidelines on plastic recycling. I was the chairman of the committee, and IS 14534, IS 14535. These two guidelines are there for recycling and very well done. Other than that, there was a plastics packaging and packaging waste guideline was also prepared as a part of the task force report in 97. That was also very well documented by experts from the industry as well as from the research institute. Now, so much good work has been done and the progress has been very well by the industry, the recyclers and first the informal sector pickers. Which agar rag pickers na hote to I can speak in, to plastic kahan pada rehta, garbage kahan pada rehta, sab jagah. Actually, rag pickers are the real backbone and they take away the major chunk of the recyclable plastics from the garbage. Why? Because they earn their livelihood from there. They are doing their work on their own, they are self-employed, and I'm sure there was one of the recommendation in the task force that they should be given some sort of incentives and other things. Not much has been done, except there are some institutions or corporates or mutual corporations that they have been directly, indirectly helping. And the last I read it in Bangalore, the Bangalore Corporation have joined hands with the NGOs to pick up the dry waste, for which they are financing the what you call the tippers, and they are also paying some money to them. But whatever dry waste is collected, the rag pickers take away, sell them, and they earn money, and they manage their own show. So what I felt very happy that I call it the plastic waste is an industry, has developed an industry. Though it's a low level, we call it, but when it goes to recycling, it's a very technological, highly technical industry. And you will be surprised in India, we are one of the largest recyclers, and our recycling rate is more than 60%. We are the largest in the world. South Africa is there later than other European countries, because we have the innovators in our country, starting from the rag pickers. They know. I think I have shown some slides. You will see that the rag picker collects the mal in the morning from 6 o'clock to 11 o'clock, and he or she, the whole family looks after. They sit and they sort out, segregate the plastics, and they are so knowledgeable. They say, "Ye kadak plastic hai, ye soft plastics hai." Yeah, they know if this is polystyrene, if it is polyethylene, if it is PET, etc. See the knowledge. So it's not only in India, all over the world, waste pickers are doing the wonderful work. Then the technology is recycling. Now the question is,
I request actually if you can share your slides, because we are running short of time now.
Please, let us show these slides.
Yes, please. Yes.
Now, this particular opening slide is very common in any city. This I have taken only a week ago, though I've got thousands of them. This rickshaw wala, they collect garbage, dry garbage from localities. I'm in Gurgaon, from condominium and other thing, and they start in the morning 8 o'clock. By 11, 12 o'clock, the bag is full, overflowing. In that they collect plastics, cardboard, glass, any other waste, any other packaging waste. They bring it to the garbage dump managed by municipal corporation, where they unload it and they segregate recyclables and the other thing. Now the recyclables, plastics, one, including thermocol and any single-use plastics which we criticize, all that is collected, and the waste dealer, kabadi wala, is sitting there in the garbage, what's called the area managed by corporation. They weigh the recyclable, pay the money, and then go. It's a daily affair. Now, this sort of thing is working very common. What you call it, the informal sector is playing a very big role in the waste management, particularly the recyclables. Now they go and unload it. It's a daily affair. In any city, you see that, you find in India. Now, similar activities are there in other countries also. Next. Now, here I've shown just in a quick way that plastics development has been there in 20th century. And during the last 50 years, plastic industry has grown, overgrown. And when they overgrown, the packaging industry is one of the major. And the packaging industry, after you have used the couple packs, and the packaging becomes useless, it goes either in the dustbin, or people who are careless, they throw it on the road or dump it in some nala. But this sort of thing has improved a lot. So I've shown the industry. Then there are benefits of plastics to the society and every activity. We cannot live without plastics. I'm sorry, my friends criticize the latest thing has come, single-use plastics. What is single-use plastics? The entire packaging industry is single-use plastic. The entire medical healthcare industry applications are single-use. How can we close all these things? We may have alternatives, you do that. But it doesn't mean you stop that and then do the other one, and stop criticizing. Stop accusing plastics. Stop accusing plastics. Next. Now, the final I say, plastic waste is value-based. It's a value-based, it has value. That's why the rack pickers earn their money. Then they, after sorting, they give it to the kabadi wala. They also take their profit, kabadi wala sells it to recyclers, and they also make money. Now, in the kabadi wala and the waste dealer, plastic waste is very well priced, better than paper, better than cardboard, better than even glass. So it's a regular business. I call it plastic waste has developed as an industry. The generators are plastic consumers, with promoters, self-employed, informal sector, waste pickers, waste dealers, and the treatment and disposal managers are recyclers, because plastics as materials are recyclable, and management of plastic waste is turned out to be business and a resource. So plastic waste is a resource and the business. And one of the important applications of plastics, when if it is not possible to recycle economically, it has the calorific value. You can recover energy. Japan is a leader in incineration plants, and 57% of the plastic waste they incinerate. And in India, the incineration technology is there, but the moment the government departments to design a project, our friends, NGOs and activists come forward, they say, oh, there is a dioxin, etc., etc. And they frighten the consumers, they frighten the government departments. Have been sitting there. Next. Okay. I think I've done speaking.
Next slide, please. Ashley.
Hello, next. Hello.
Next slide.
Hello.
Yes, yes, yes. Kindly move on.
Speaking. Hello.
Yeah.
The video is stopping. They're there. Video is stopping. I'll just tell you. How's your video stop?
Hello.
We can hear you, Ratraji.
No, I think maybe I'm losing my time.
You have any comments on these slides?
No, but I'm not seeing it. Whether slides are being shown.
Yeah, they are being shown. Yes, that's right. We are on the slide relating to plastics are integral part of our daily life. Plastics are recyclables as per Indian Standard 14534,
Yes.
1998 and environment friendly.
From my screen, it is disappeared.
No, it is there. It is there.
Yes, come. Now, here, what happened from the organization, there was one set up, Indian Center for Plastics in the Environment on the recommendation of the Environment Ministry. Awareness program documents were produced for the consumers. This document is plastics are integral part of in our daily life. And this is a fact of life. This is a fact of life. And I've shown the photographs, how different application there. On the left, I've shown a truckload of plastic waste, which is being transported to the recycling centers. This photograph I had taken. All these photographs are taken by me, nothing from the internet. And at the back is also there is the rug, which has been made out of the used plastic bags. Next. Now, this is one of the earliest photographs. I mean, I'm saying the document, what called the background paper prepared for the National Waste Council, Management Council way back in 1993-94. Next. Any? No?
Getting repeated.
No. Okay. This is another photograph, how the waste is collected and segregated by the rag picker. This is also a very old photograph. Next. This is again, I'm showing you photograph waste being transported, and there is again a rickshaw. On the right, I'm showing thermocol. Normally, it's a misinformation circulated by our friends at NGOs that thermocol is not recyclable. Thermocol is collected regularly in every society, in every city, and there are recycling centers. It is recycled, melted, and brought back to the polystyrene again. So this misinformation being floated by our friends is I desirable against plastics. All plastics are recyclable, and the single-use plastic which they've talked of, the plastic bags, they are reusable. PET bottles, they are reusable several times. In every household, in the refrigerator, there are number of reusable PET bottles, which normally the housewife use it for storing water. And the bags also, plastic bags, advantage of that is it can carry wet product. And in India, you see labor construction worker, he or she carries tea or water in plastic bag. And then again, after using it, they again wash it and again reuse it. So there are advantages of plastic bags. And as per waste management rules 2018, plastic bags are permitted up to 50 micron. So there's nothing. My only request is my friends, NGOs and activists should not float false information and false propaganda against plastic. Regarding EPR, yes, I have the documents because I get all the documents to assess. this EPR is not practical, not functional in India. So we normally ape or copy what is done in Europe. No, every country has a different garbage culture. Within the country, there are regions, there are different garbage cultures. Indiscriminate littering is very common. You cannot improve somebody. You tell somebody don't throw things here. Since there's a little bit of place there, put it there. He or she refused to do that. So the garbage culture awareness, very continuous program. In fact, I have been going to schools and telling the children also, and very good experience with the children. But children are being misguided by the activists, the wrong information against plastics. But the pity part is there are benefits of plastics. You can't do without plastics. Why talk ill of plastics? It's recycled, it's regularly collected. We must respect the rag pickers, must respect the kabadiwala, must respect all this, must respect the recyclers. So recycling, recovering into material, or recovering into energy, or in the road construction, we use the plastic waste. The pity part is in road construction, plastic waste is used. And there is a CPCB guideline, there's the Indian Road Congress guideline properly done. And in Gurgaon, the corporation, they have started laying roads using plastic waste. And again, the pity part is, and the NGOs the next day say, no, don't use plastic bag because while using plastic with the bitumen, it produces dioxin, it produces other plastic. No, nothing happens like that. So this sort of misinformation doing that is very wrong. And similarly, there are flex boards, the signboards and other things are made out of plastics rather than using wooden panels or steel sheet. And our friends in NGOs, they say, no, it's environment hazard. There's nothing like environment hazard. Plastics are inert. There is no environment hazard, there is no health hazard when plastic is found in the waste bin. No, it is the muck, it is the wet food or wet garbage, which is health hazard, which is environment hazard. It's not the plastics. So this sort of information should be stopped. And
would you like to wind up? Kindly wind up, actually.
Hello.
Yes.
Since plastic waste is part of city municipal waste, so we should not, reject it as plastic waste is bad. No, it is part of the whole show. And this plastic waste is very lucrative, for the waste picker. That's why you find all these waste picker practically in every city or town, even in the highways. You find a small boy, some particular man carrying a bag and trying to look for something like that. I have not brought even the, I can tell you, the shaving razor, the blade part, which is partly the plastics, that is also being found in the garbage dump. The waste pickers collected. I remember way back 95, I was in Bhopal and traveling on the highway, and in a garbage dump I found a few, 2-3 boys, and stopped my car and asked them, what are they doing? The boy said, this small blade, razor blade, the plastics part, that they are collecting. Why? Because the rag pickers are given an assignment by the kabadiwala. Okay, you bring this, which is value. And then, because this is recyclable, get there. And in the recycling centers, if you visit, huge activity, everything is recycled. Everything, joggers, आपके जो shoes होते हैं, वाले जिसके नीचे plastic होता है, even that is also collected shoes. And plastic उसको recover करते. There is nothing which is not recoverable in the plastic waste. And if it becomes a junk, you put it in the incineration to recover energy because calorific. So we must appreciate the good points of plastics. They are bad point. Anything goes to the waste is waste. Anything goes to the waste is waste. So there are aluminum waste, there are industrial waste, there's the cardboard waste, there are other things that you find in the industry. I exclusively target plastic, which is very wrong. And I'll tell, guard my inform my activists and other things. 12, honorable bench, you said plastic bags are a bigger threat than atom bomb. I wish I would have been there in that, but I don't want to challenge that. Let that honorable bench produce plastics as a nuclear material and produce atom bomb. How will an honorable bench of Supreme Court make such damaging statement about plastic bags? But this is going on. Anybody makes statement against plastics, it's a order of day. It's everything says. Plastics are not environment hazard, they are not health hazard at all. They are good, and thanks to the rag pickers who are doing a good job. If they were not there, our corporations and other people could not manage. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ratraji. I think you conveyed it. Plastic, as a matter of fact, is a very valuable material. It can be recycled. It can be recycled nth number of times. And I was very happy to see that there are some standards that have also been created, the Indian standards. Those can also be used by our friends who are actually involved in the UN project. Kindly look at those standards also when you are implementing your projects in different cities and see how best we can really make use of. There is no doubt that plastic waste management rules have been, they were really created in 2016, then modified in 2018. But that's a responsibility in a way given to the municipal bodies so that they are also able to ensure that plastic waste management is properly done. Plastic, actually, there are countries like, for example, China, which have been importing at a point of time, they were importing plastic waste and then using it for a variety of projects. They have now stopped doing that. But earlier, I'm sure that Trish is there. She will be able to tell us that even Australia was exporting plastic waste after washing it and after properly managing it to China. So basically, the message which today's webinar is trying to give is that plastic should become a part of the circular economy. It brings in, benefits if properly managed, then we can really improve our environment. It can also improve the economy in a very big way, basically that. And I am very sure that, as we are really proceeding in the country, we must try to increase the percentage of plastic waste recycled. And it should be recognized as an industry so that they get the benefits, necessary benefits, for as an industry. As an industry, there are several benefits that you can certainly get from loans from the banks. You can import the machinery for that purpose. Variety of things are sort of, there, which can really be plastic, can be really put to use. I avail this opportunity, very specially thanking to all the 4 panelists for making excellent presentation. We do hope that we have your permission to share your presentations to all the participants and also put on the website. Basically, I also would like to thank All India Institute of Local Self-Government and the team, in fact, Mr. Ashley and all his colleagues, providing the backstop for that matter in organizing this webinar. And my very special thanks to each one of you. With those words, I would like to close it and looking forward for the next webinar. Thank you very much indeed. Yes. Okay. All the best.